All right. Well, welcome everyone. If you're on the call, you are somewhat responsible for onboarding of our agents. So thank you for attending. This is just kind of a refresh, just to kind of cover some of the same information, just to make sure that we're all on the same page. Everything changes slightly with technology every so often, so always good to do a refresh. If you have any questions, feel free to unmute or go ahead and put them in the chat box, and we will get those answered for you. And then if you need any follow-up after the fact, we are recording this session so that we can get that out to you guys at a later date as well for review. So just let us know what questions you have as we walk through this. So I am going to share my screen first, and then we'll get it to Julie. So let me get this going. So you should be seeing Google Admin. Can somebody nod or thumbs up? Or okay, great. Thanks, Lori. So there are two ways to provide our agents with email addresses. We highly recommend asking them to utilize a full Gmail account, whether it be CB Great Lakes, CB Schmidt, Ohio, CB Paradise, whatever it might be. And the reason for that, as you probably know, is because that's what will sync over to our Moxie Engage and get their systems operating together and speaking the same language. If they're adamant that they want to use their own Gmail, we can create the group for them, which is essentially like a forward. It's in a group. They can still advertise their Schmidt provided email address, but they'll receive their emails at their end user, whoever that owner is. So it's real easy to set up the user. There's a few different things that you need to click on the group to make sure that it operates the way we need it to. So we'll talk about the user first, and then we'll go into groups. So for user, you simply click right here where it says add a user. It's going to pop up this box, obviously first name, last name. We do try to keep the same naming parameter for all of our agents, and that's first name dot last name. And then of course you would choose the URL in which you reside. Now if they are William, but they go by Bill, absolutely we can do that. Bill.Smith at CB Great Lakes. That's not a problem. When Julie talks about account tech and the why it's so important to use their legal name, that's when that matters. But as far as their email address, first name dot last name, but you can use their familiar name, whichever they prefer. What we ask you to avoid is doing things like bill at cbparadise.com, because we could have more than one Bill, and which Bill gets to use that email address. So outside of the Schmidt HQ world, we do ask for first name dot last name. From here, you can choose to automatically generate a password, or you can set the password yourself. And that process is kind of however you guys see fit. This is the information that you would send to the agent so that they can access their email. So I'm going to go ahead and just put a fake one in real quick, so that we can get to the next screen. And Paul, I see you're on. If I forget to delete this, do it for me later, please. So, thank you. So from here, you can see you can get to more actions. You can add it to a group at this time, which I know Lori does down in the Sunstar. They keep a running group of their agents. You can go to edit user. If it's going to be a staff member, if it's going to be a manager or an ASC, RSC, anybody in accounting, a staff member, we want to scroll to the, I'm sorry, I'm in the wrong screen. Click the up arrow there. We want to scroll to the bottom, go to licenses, and I know our numbers are getting low. I'm just waiting for our account rep to call me so that we can purchase some more seats. But from here is where you can switch it to business. The way that we're setting up a lot of our shared drives now to keep our company's data more secure is we are putting them in actual shared drives. And unless they have that business access, they can never have higher than viewer. They'll never be able to be an editor or anything on those shared drives. So we do want to make sure that staff gets the business account. And if you see that number says 0 and you're trying to add somebody, please call me right away. We are increasing our seats. I'm just waiting on our rep, and I need to tag him again. Now that I'm back in the office, I can do that today. Other than that, we are looking at turning on two-step verification, two-step authentication for our staff accounts, and again, to secure our data. But Paul and I will be, and with Barb's help there in Florida, we'll be working on that and communicating that with you guys when we're ready to do that. But as far as an agent, we're not going to mandate that because we all know how difficult it is for them and passwords and such. So at this point, we are looking to move staff, but we will not be looking to move agents just yet. So I'm going to go ahead and delete user. If it's a staff member, so say that you're onboarding a new ASC and the prior ASC is no longer with us, you don't have to delete that ASC. You can rename the account. And the reason why that's good is because it saves us on the number of accounts. If an agent emails the prior staff person, the new staff person will get it. And if that person owned any documents, calendars, anything like that for the office, that will stay with that account. So we don't want to necessarily transfer, which is the option here, if you're replacing one for one a staff person. You can simply rename the account, and then it puts the old address under as an alias, so that if a agent or such still emails the old staff person that's no longer with us, the new staff person will get it. So when we're working on some of these staffing issues, we want to be renaming accounts, not creating new ones and transferring. And that is as simple as going into the account and right here where it says rename user. And then you'll see once you do that, the old email address will come up as an alias. Now as far as groups, right here it says groups. So again, if you are creating a group, they will not be able to use it as their sync email in Moxie because it's not an account that they can sync to. There's no contacts in it. There's no data. It's essentially on a forward. So if they want their CV Schmidt Ohio email address, but they want to use their personal Gmail address as their sync email, that's when you would create the group. Because then when you onboard them into Moxie, you'll make sure that you notate their Gmail address and use that as their sync address. But they'll still be able to receive email and be able to market the Schmidt provided email address. So from here you click create group, you name it, oops, first and last, whatever it might be. I don't ever put a description in. If you guys have a reason, if it's something you want to notate later, feel free. And then you would put in what the group email is. And from here, this is the Schmidt provided email address that it's asking for, essentially what that group email address is. And then you have to put in the owner. Now from here, when you type it in, you have to click in the gray box in order for it to come up. You can have more than one group owner as well. If you're working with teams and you're creating a team account and both members of the team or all three members of the team want to get emails to that team account, you can put them all in here as owners. You can add them in the next step as members as well, but you can have more than one owner. And from here you click next. From here you need to make sure that external is able to publish posts. If we don't check that box, people emailing the group email address from outside the company, like joeschmo@gmail.com, those won't get through to the group email address. So you want to make sure that you click right there where it says external. Then you need to turn on allow members outside your organization. Because again, this is how it's going to allow clients and such outside of our company to contact that group email. And then you click create group. If you are getting complaints from somebody that has a group and they're saying, I'm not getting emails, what you want to do is make sure that you go back into that account and make sure they're actually an owner. When this would affect anybody that onboarded with us prior to us transitioning to Gmail. They did not get sent over as the owner, they got sent over as the member. So if you're getting that complaint in your regions, all you have to do is come here, click on where it says members, make sure that they're the owner, and then also make sure that their settings, so that's the bottom box down here, has that external checked and allows outside members. That's what's stopping the communication from going to these groups if it's not set up that way. You don't always do groups a lot, so if you guys have that situation, you can always reach out and ask, and we can walk through the settings at that time, because I know it's one of those weird little check boxes, but if it doesn't get checked, it won't work. So feel free to reach out as you are needing to set people up. Any questions on Gmail before we turn it over to Account Tech?
Carrie, I think we did add a job aid for adding groups, so I'll just double check and make sure that I don't know if all those things were in there.
That'd be great.
I believe if anybody has issues, there is something they can follow if they need to do it.
Okay, is that in the ASC Square on Schmidt Resources?
I'm not sure it ever got uploaded to Schmidt Resources, but once it's updated, we can get it in there. Okay. We'll put it in the RSC Square or ASC Square?
ASC Square, yeah. That'd be great. Thank you. All right. Well, Julie, I will let you screen share now and take it away with Account Tech.
Okay. Okay, can everybody see my Account Tech that's up here?
Yep, we gotcha.
Okay. So when you get a new agent coming in, the first, I'm going to tell you what I do when I get an agent, when you send me the paperwork, because I do pretty much the very same thing that you guys do. And that is, I go to the people screen. My first step is always, I'm going to search it first, just to see and make sure that this person isn't already in, the agent already is not into the system, so that they're not double entered. And so I'm going to use this one, utilize this agent as an example. Okay, my first step is that, of course, your first name, last name, but you always want to put their first name, last name, middle name, however it appears on their W-9. In this case, this person is choosing not to utilize a name, initial, or whatever. So this is how it would show. I don't care what the rest of her paperwork may show, that she utilizes a middle initial or spells it out or whatever. Her W-9 did not reflect it that way. So that is where it's very important that it reflects the same way that the W-9 does, because that is the type of information that is being submitted via 1099 to the IRS. And when the IRS does some name matching, then that's what they look for also. You never need to put a company name in here. That's there just isn't any reason to utilize that company name. The familiar name, you start off with let's say that Stephanie chooses to use just Steph. So that's what that would go there. Same thing with the display name. You do put the last name in there in that regards. The corporate name, now this is where, in the event that they happen to fill out their W-9, that they have an LLC, that they're a corporation or whatever. This is where you'd put the corporate name here. But I'm going to caution you not to put that in there until you either speak to myself or Mike Griffiths first, if you're not used to utilizing that type of thing, because certain states have very specific requirements as to whether or not we can pay a corporate an LLC, basically a non-person. So we always have to make sure that the paperwork and that they're qualified to be paid under a corporate name. And in the event that they are, you would just check this box too, because going forward then, their 1099, even though their name is reflecting up here, their 1099 is going to be done in that corporate name. And in regards to the email address, this email address is where the Coldwell banker is going to send their initial login information and an initial password to get it. So I particularly don't care what you put there, whether or not they want to utilize their own email address or utilize the company or whatever. That's really no big deal in that regards. Over here under type, because you're going into people, it automatically defaults to an agent there. The source, the lead by, it's nice to have it in there, but there is absolutely no reason to do it. Same thing with their birthday, gender, or division and so on. We do not track that information, and it doesn't affect anything that gets put into Dash or anything. So if you choose to put it in there, fine. If you don't, that's all right too. Under the addresses, you'll have, when you click on this plus button to bring up the address bar, see you'll have a number of different address types. The only one that will show up on their 1099 is this mailing address. The physical, legal, residential, nothing it'll show up blank if it's not tagged as a mailing address. So that is very important. I actually, 99% of everybody's doing it great. Yesterday, somebody did put down that it was a residential, and I did go back in and change it. So that their first address here always needs to be that mailing address. Phone number, same thing here. Generally, we just tend to put in their mobile number. Again, you choose your type of phone here. 99% of the time, it is their mobile number. And so then their phone, you put their phone number there, and it does pop up here. What I have been noticing, and I'm not quite sure why it's occurring, but for some reason, somebody will put in there that it's a mobile number, and it will show some odd set of numbers here. So when I go in to double click on that and see what the issue is, as soon as I hit save, it changes it to the number that somebody has already pre-populated here. So I'm not quite sure what's occurring there, but you may want to double check that before you send the information, or you finish it off by indicating that part is set. So if I had made any changes or putting somebody brand new in here, you click on save there, and I do not hit submit yet at this point. Next thing I do is I come onto people links here. And because you've gone in and set up that agent already, when you've gone in and set up the initial setup, you've chosen your company and you've chosen their office. So you do not need to worry about that. These numbers right here are already pre-populated also. You do not need to worry about any of these numbers here. Same thing with this default account, that literally is pre-populated. Now, the one item that I've been seeing, and I think it's maybe a security situation, that if you are inputting agents and this box here is grayed out for you, then that means that you don't have the correct security setting. If you could let me know, then I can get you set up with that setting. But basically, this is where their tax ID number goes, and it does need to reflect it with the 3 digits dash, 2 digits dash, 4 digits. All of our agents are a non-employee, so you do make that option. You choose that option in here. Again, from this drop down, you'll see that there's a lot of other options there, but they're only a non-employee. These boxes, we've asked Account Tech to pre-populate, so those 3 boxes will be set as they are. And if for some reason you don't want the agent to show on the internet, you just click that off there. This electronic payment setting, this does not get populated until we go into transaction plan to input their banking information and credit card information. So don't worry if those numbers are blank there. We have not opened up the ability for anybody outside of the accounting department here to put in the banking and credit card information for agents. So you do not need to be concerned about that item there. I know that a lot of you guys will receive information from me asking for their MLS ID number. If you have it when you're onboarding the agent and they've already joined their local MLS, it's great if you would put that in there immediately, because it does help not to throw up a message on our dashboard that an MLS ID is missing and so on. As you see, there's a lot of different MLSs in here. So you just choose your MLS, choose their MLS ID number there, and then just hit save. And it will populate that box. Again, you would hit save. Still at this point, I am not hitting submit at this point. My next one I'm going to is Agent Basics. There's the agent's start date will always be the date that they start with the company. Now, their anniversary date, and this is different in every region. So you need to know what your particular region is in regards to anniversary dates. In this case, Ohio's anniversary dates start at the first of every year. So in this, it doesn't matter that this agent has started with us here in April. The anniversary date still is always January in their case. Here in Northern Michigan, their anniversary dates are, since it was April 19th, we had put it to May 1st. If it was anything prior to the 15th, we'd date it back to April 1st. It's just kind of a easy way of record keeping for us in that regards. Again, this active box, you click on that if it hasn't already pre-populated. Their career start and brand start, again, was a date that they had joined the company with us. If you know this information here, it is always great to put it on, to input that information in there. If you have it, if you don't, again, we don't worry about it. If they do come on as part of a team, then you do have to put their team in there. In this case, let's say that they're part of the MI home group. You would click it on there, and there's a couple of reasons for that. One is that that's how their commissions are, their commission programs based. And then also, because of this, the agent, the team lead can check on certain information that they have access to. But only if they're a member, only if they are part of a team. Licenses and insurances, if you choose to put that information in there, that's fine. Again, we're not concerned about it. The preferences here, you have to, we always like to see those boxes checked. You do have to go in individually and check each one for it to hold the information in there. And again, I'm not quite sure. This is something to do with Dash for whatever feed it affects in Dash. So that's why we always like to make sure that those are all enabled. Under position, you do need to come in here and click on that. You select a position, and it does make a difference as to what position that you do choose for the agent. They are always a sales associate. So they're not a sales representative. They're not a sales agent. They're a sales associate. And it sounds like splitting hairs, but it truly isn't, if I was to go in depth with you as to what the differences were and so on. So it's not, you just choose sales associate, you select the office that they're in, and then enter the start date for that position. And then it is important that you do check that they are full-time. And it doesn't matter that they're only coming in part-time, that doesn't matter. This affects a feed and what they're able to get into if you don't click that they are a full-time, that they are full-time. And again, now this is the point, again, that I'll click save on this again. And I never go into their web profile in this case, you guys can, again, if I was furnished the information, I would go into it. But if you have the information, there's no problem with you putting that information in there. The commission, now this is where either you know their commission plan or your accounting department can help you choose the correct commission plan, because as you can see, these commission plans cover the whole organization. I myself, unless they're in the north region, I do not touch that commission plan situation there. I let their local commission specialists and or accounting department handle that part of it, because each one of these plans have a different formula to it that affects how their commissions are figured. Down here under the agent specific commission reminder, this is what pops up when they proceed with a closing, when they're getting ready to do a closing and they call up this particular agent. This will create a pop-up. What I generally put in there is, let's say like the Schmidt Community Fund that they want to donate to it. I'll put in their Schmidt Community Funds and whatever donation that they choose to do it, so that when the closing department gets ready to do the closing, this will pop up and prod them and remind them to put the $10 in there for it to be deducted from the agent's commission. And again, click save. You keep clicking save. And again, still, I do not submit it at this point yet. My next step is that I come to the reoccurring billable items. Again, click on that plus button. As you can see, there's a lot of different options here as to whatever region that you may happen to be in. And in this case, the Ohio region has to have fees that come out to them twice a year. So I would click on each one of those boxes there, click on add selected items, and it will populate there. Then when the receivables department every month runs their statements, if it was time in April and or October, it would show up on the agent statement then at that point. Now, for the Florida region, they have, in the Sunstar region, they have a risk management fee. So I would click on that and add that one. That one is set to be charged all months. In our Michigan region, we'll have a professional fee and tech fee. So I will click on those two. And again, all months will be affected by it. And it will run all month. Or excuse me, every month.
And Julie, would you say you're the point of contact if there's anybody onboarding that has a question on to what fees to select?
Absolutely, yes. And again, Carrie, it still comes down to if any one of these items on the side here are grayed out for you and you are doing the onboarding, let me know, because again, it's just a matter of a security setting. And because we have so many, it's pretty tough sometimes to run through and say, okay, this person needs this person needs that. So if you find any one of these items that I am clicking on, that's grayed out for you, just let me know and we will get that security setting reset for you. And so then at this point again, I'm clicking save, and now this is the time that I would hit submit and at that time it's being submitted to Dash, and almost immediately thereafter, when you get that successful submission, immediately thereafter the agent will be receiving an email from Coldwell Banker with their username and initial password. And that email may end up in their spam, in their junk folder. Excuse me, so I always ask them to check that before they say, I've never received it type thing. So, and then pretty much that's it. And I do go through one more time and just kind of double check my work to make sure I did not, let's say I transposed a number here or something. But other than that, it's that's pretty much the process I do go through for um for, for inputting agents in here. Does anybody have any questions?
What questions do you guys? There was one specific to Ohio. So in Ohio, Stephanie is doing that for them. And then Jessica just wrote, can you show them how to add agent login info in security since they will have access soon?
Thank you. That was, I was going to do that too. Thank you. Thanks, Jessica. I forgot about that. Up here on your icons up at the top here, you click on, again, if this is grayed out for you, please let me know, but you click on security. Okay, again, your first step always has to be, is this agent in there already? In this case, of course, we know that she is because I've done this previously, but here's where what you also need to do is under the username, you put the agent's first name, last name. Again, at this point, you can, if they go by Bud, Bud Smith, put Bud Smith in there. That's something that they will remember. I always tend to look at the agent info sheet because sometimes I will take a look at their email and it will say Bud.Smith at whatever rather than William, let's say, .Smith. So that's what I tend to utilize for the username here. I come here, the next step is I come here and click on agents, and then I don't bother with the companies at this point. I come down to the company that I need, or excuse me, the office that I need, and I will click, as soon as I click on, let me find, oh, come on, Ohio. There it is. I'm going to take Canton out of there. You see what happened here? They all this information and so on came out of there. But as soon as I click on there, and then I'm going to act like her name isn't in there. And then all you have to do is click on that, and then this will automatically fill in, and then the email will automatically fill in with the email that you had put into their original profile. And then so now Stephanie Mail is in the system, and she will have access then to transaction plan.
Can we just add, Julie, that on that screen that it's really, really important that we're not clicking the Manage Roles tab and adjusting anything in there?
That is very correct, because these, even though we can give you access to manage users, you're also at the same time, you're going to get access to a lot of these. Never go down below the manage users, manage roles, company offices, so on and so forth. That is for our use only. It's just that the way that the settings are set up for in account tech, the setting that we have to give you to be able to utilize this also opens up these two. So that's why you just never go beyond this manage user site tab there.
And when will they start doing that portion of the onboarding? Are we ready for them to do that now?
It is. If they have the security setting set up for it, then yes.
Okay, so everybody on the call, we did first and third this past Wednesday about that transaction plan access that our agents will be getting. We are going to be rolling it out and announcing it to them as of May 1st. So you'll start getting more and more questions about that. So I just wanted to let you guys know that that is occurring. But to Julie's point, if you don't have access to that, just reach out and we'll make sure that you get what you need.
Yeah, because part of that access too to that is that, as we know with ourselves, let alone our agents, again, it's their password situation. So under this account tech, you can put in a new password for them, right up here where it says change. I'm sorry, I know I stopped sharing, but there's a change password button there, and you can assign them a new password. So something that they would remember.
Great. Any other questions? And obviously, if you don't do it every day, it is quite the complicated task. So don't ever hesitate to reach out, and we
Oh
can
no,
help you with it.
and that's why by you sending me the agent paperwork is that I do go back in and double check your work and make sure that everything is completed in there. So just don't ever hesitate to, if you have a question, I don't want you to fight with it. I don't want you to spend hours trying to figure it out. Just give me a quick call or send me a quick email.
Are they emailed the password? How do they get it when you first put it in?
They are not emailed that. That is something that the agents will have to, you'll have to tell the agent what their email is to Transaction Plan, their login information to Transaction Plan.
Good question, Lori.
Yep.
I would also, Julie, add on to your, when you said show how to add teams, teams also need to be manually added in Dash. Those don't actually feed over, so we have to create that as well, just to make sure that they're in there.
Yeah, that is something that I do not, I do not go into Dash at all. So when it comes to teams, then that's something definitely I would recommend that you reach out to Jessica or Carrie in regards to make sure that that is reflecting correctly in Dash.
Yeah.
What about the people that are already in there? Has somebody gone in and loaded them into this part so they have a sign on, or?
Yes. Yep.
Yeah.
That's all taken care of.
You'll find at least 90%, 90 to 97% of the agents are already in there. I'm not saying that it's going to be 100% because obviously could be a situation where we've missed some. But if they were missed, you can't find them in there, just put them in.
Hey, Carrie, will there be an email to the agents, or how are they being notified on May 1st?
Yeah, I was going to keep it a secret. Yes, we don't have it drafted yet.
Okay.
I believe I communicated it on all of the managers' meetings, possibly not Michigan yet. But we will be communicating directly with them via constant contact to let them know.
Okay, perfect.
Hey, Julie.
Yes.
A question regarding user profiles. If, let's say, we use them as a vendor or for something else in the past, and they had an existing user account in there for something else, should we still attach it to that one or create a new account?
Well, if they're in there as a vendor, that's all totally different access. So you're correct, Paul. They need to be put in there as an agent. That's a very good question, because we will have RSCs, ASCs, and so on that transfer over to be an agent. Their information their access is so restricted as an employee, more so than an agent, that we do have to create a new agent profile for everybody if they become an agent. You got to be very careful though of the manager one, because thank you, Jess. Managers will have a manager and an agent profile. The manager profile giving them more access than the standard agent profile.
Quick question, Julie. I'm sorry. Did we ever figure out a workaround for? Because I have a couple of ASCs that went to agent, and they were kind of upset that their login changed. Have we figured out a way around that? They don't want to have the Samantha Bradley one at Coldwell Banker as their.
No, that is actually a Dash issue, and so no, there's no workaround currently with that situation. The only workaround with it is that, let's say that instead of Samantha Bradley, she did Sam Bradley or something like that.
That
But
makes,
I don't think that I do know at this point right now, there is no workaround to, if were an employee and then transferred over to an agent status.
That would be a
It's
great
not really
opportunity. That would be a great opportunity to try to push, our Gmail brand on them, to try to get them off the Caldwell Banker and start using ours, with the added security and the more control.
well, and it's not an email address in both of these cases. They just
It's their login.
didn't like it. So it's just login credentials,
Oh.
thankfully.
And that will happen too. Keep in mind, guys, that will happen too. If you have a William.Smith at wherever, and then you have a second William.Smith wherever, that second one's going to be 1. The next one coming in with that name is going to be 2, and so on. Again, there's no workaround on that situation at this point.
Great. Any other questions for Julie? All right. Well, enough of that boring accounting stuff. Let's do something fun. Let's talk about Moxie. Thank you, Julie.
You're welcome.
So let me switch my screens around. Who's jamming out to the music?
I was going to ask the same thing.
Oh, something, I bet it's mine. I don't even notice it. I leave it on to drown out the buzzing of the fluorescent lights.
I feel you. All right, so this is Moxie. I do believe in every region it is you guys that are onboarding, but if I'm incorrect on that, drop me a note. The way that Moxie is set up is we are not charged per account. We are charged per office. So if you have somebody that you have a manager that's recruiting and you want them to be able to see the tool and play around with it, we can by all means give them access to it, and it will not affect how our account is handled. So I wanted to just preface that because it can be a really good recruiting tool. That way they can dig in to present and engage and really see what that looks like. So in order to add, you would come down to the lower left where it says Management Tools, and right here it's either going to say Manage Company, Manage Region, Manage Organization, depending on the level of security that you have on your own account. And as you can see, as our family grows, we have more additions to our lovely landing board here. Now again, based on the level of security that you have, you may or may not see these. And Stephanie, I just remembered I got to add you to make sure that you are seeing our new addition here. So from here, you would want to just click the little plus sign. And it's the first option there, that little bobblehead. That's how you add a person. From here, you're going to want to choose your region, depending on the DBA in which you are adding. So let's have something fun and do St. Croix. In St. Croix, we only have one office, but if you were in a different region, of course, you would pick from the office list of the one that you're adding. Traverse City 402, because of the way the website is set up, is our home office. And so that does not have the dash and the office name. So this first one here is Traverse City 402. And then you click next. You can go ahead and add somebody even if you don't have their MLS ID, but you will want to notate that you want to go back and add it at a later date so that their link to their local MLS is there. So the first thing that you have to do when you put in you want to choose the board in which you're putting them, put the number, you have to click validate, and then there's a second step that you have to click add. So it is a two-step process. It's making you validate it and then add it, but then it'll confirm that it's been connected. Now, if you know you have the right code and it's not validating, once in a great while, we will come across that. And at that point, we just have to reach out to the help desk at Moxie and ask them to add it on the back end for us, because for whatever reason, and it doesn't seem to be any rhyme or reason to it, but once in a while you will come across that. So that is just reaching out to the help desk. If you're adding a staff member or an agent that doesn't have that number yet, just uncheck that and it will let you go further into the process. And I heard a question, so let me jump over. Oh,
yeah, it was just me. I don't know if it's any other MLS, but with Mishrick, it does take up to 24 hours for you to be able to validate an MLS ID if they're a new agent.
That could be across others as well. It could be an overnight feed that they have set up that way. So if we're running into that issue, if it still doesn't work the next morning, then we can reach out. But good point there. Thank you. If you are adding somebody as like a recruit just to play around with the tool, go ahead and just uncheck profile visible online. That will ensure that they do not show up on our consumer facing websites. You can do the same with internal directory. If it's somebody that's already in the market and they really don't want anybody to know that they're looking at this, you can shut that off as well. Included in reports, we do get monthly reports from Moxie, and the managers have some access to reports as well. So if you don't want them to show up in the reports, you would leave them on, but essentially we would leave that on for all our agents because we do want to track their engagement. But that's what that means by including reports. So pretty self-explanatory here, first name, last name. The username, we do suggest that you do make it their Schmidt provided email address. If they're choosing a different sync email, if they're choosing gmail.com or something, please still use the Schmidt provided email address that you created a group for, so that we do make sure that it is all uniform, so that we will know if we're helping them, then we'll know what it is. This right here, user sets password, if you leave it turned on, the user, which is the agent, is going to receive an automatic email from Moxie giving them access. Now, in a lot of our regions, we're not doing this right away because we are going through the next step to change some of the settings for the agent prior to giving them access. So from here, you would just uncheck it. And then you can go ahead and set that password. That's really good because then you'll be able to access it as the ASC or RSC or onboarding specialist prior to the agent being able to get into it, so that you can do things like set their SSL cert and do their headers as well. So we'll show you that here in a minute. Check the box and then click next. Oh, I guess I wasn't paying close enough attention. Let me pick one of my other multiple email addresses. And it is late on a Friday afternoon, so let me try this one more time. I'm not real sure how that's the username, as I don't even have it in the system, so let me just...
You still gotta check the box. Every time you make a change, that box gets unchecked.
It's still telling me that the username's taken, though. There we go. Nope.
admin@schmidthq.com.
Thanks, Paul. I need to investigate why my Gmail's in there. And now you can just X these out if you get naughty notes like I did. And then click next. From here, unless you're onboarding a manager or a staff person, they're always going to have that user access. For the agents, that's the standard access, and it is the one that defaults. So again, based on your level of security that you yourselves have, you'll have less options if you don't have the top level. But for agents, it is user access. The hub and present come pre-checked. You do want to check engage, and you do want to check agent website. Unless it's a manager, do not check Moxie Talent, because that's only for the managers. And we're not using insights just yet. So Moxie Engage, Moxie Present, and agent websites you want to make sure are checked. The hub always comes checked. And again, this toggle right here, it says removing this person's login and access all products will still allow profile listings, blah, 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 blah. So just go ahead and leave it checked, because you do want to allow them to have access to the tools. And from here, you click next. This is where the emails come important. So your primary email address is the email that shows up on the consumer-facing websites. It's what shows up on the bio if you're using Moxie Present. It's what will show up in your signature unless you update it manually in Present as well. So you do want to make sure that the primary email is the email that they want marketed out to the public. The backup email is just an email address that you can use in case you're trying to get access to your account and you're locked out or whatnot. Your sync email is what's actually going to be the email address, which will pull over all of your contacts. It does have to be a gmail.com of some sort. So all of our Schmidt provided email addresses are Gmails, whether it's at CB Schmidt Ohio, at CB Great Lakes, whatever it might be, those are a Gmail product. It will not take Yahoo. It will not take MSN.com. It will not take AOL.com. It only will sync to some sort of Gmail product. Now, the exciting news for our agents that do like to utilize the ColdwellBanker.com email addresses that are provided for purchase from the brand, now that the brand and Moxie have that association, they are going to start allowing those emails to sync as well. So those are Microsoft 365 email addresses. But if your agents are utilizing them and they have it purchased from the brand and their contacts and such are in that account, moving forward, we will be able to sync to those accounts. But outside of that brand provided Office 365 account, it will not sync to any of the other ones. So if they have something at office.com, those will not sync. But because of the association with the brand moving forward, the agent purchased ColdwellBanker.com email addresses will be allowed to be synced. We just found that information out. So that's brand new information for us. So
I have a question on that.
Sure.
That's something you could change if they say they wanted to switch out. Would it sync to a different one?
If they want to change their sync, we don't have access to that, but the support team at Moxie is able to do that. Now, the caveat to that is anything they've set up, any engage, any present, any data that they've put in or updated or changed or campaigns that they set get completely wiped out. So upon changing the sync email, it's basically like starting from scratch, but that absolutely can be done. We just have to reach out to the support team at Moxie and ask them to do so. Please ignore the lead routing email for now. This is not a connection. This is here because of the work that they're doing on future products, but for now, please just leave it blank. So you are focused on the first three email your primary email, your alternate email, which is for passwords resets, and Moxie Works email, which is the sync email. Check the box, click create. It's going to take just a second as your bar moves across the front of your screen, and then it brings you to their account. So from here, you can pull in a headshot by clicking the camera, file, pulling in the file from wherever you have it saved, and then clicking open. It does give you the parameters right here, so if an agent's ever questioning it, you can always get that data information right there so that they know what size that they're working with. And it does have to be a JPEG. It will not accept PNGs or any other file. It does have to be .jpg in order for it to work. And then you would click upload. From here, you can click the pencil, and it's going to take you into the web info. You can always get back to the contact info, but you can see that sync email option disappeared. And then if you want to update their personal info, you can do that here. This is where you want to go to the internal agent ID number. This is what connects them to the single sign-on option with the brand. So this would be that login email that is provided when you put them in account tech and they get sent to Dash. So it's always going to be first dot last, unless, to Julie's point, it's a number 1 or number 2, depending on if you're a John Doe or a more common name, and then ColdwellBanker.com. So if they click on the My CB Desk link, if they click on the DSign link from the hub, and if you notice, we did rename it Hub now. It used to be Home, which was confusing, so it's Hub now. That's what that single sign-on is reading. So you do need to go back into the edit after you have initially added them and put that in there. And then, of course, their web info, this will fill out that information on their bio, like in Moxie Engage, if they're doing a CMA presentation or a buyer presentation. This is where that data pulls from, plus it fills in their About Me section on their website. So if they've provided you their bio, please feel free to go ahead and put this in here as well. You can also add their social media information from here. Now, the next step and why it's important to have that password that you set is so that you can actually log in as this user for these next few steps. So from here, you just, after you put that internal ID in, you just click save. It'll probably yell at me because mine's already in mine, so I'm just going to go ahead and click cancel on that change. And then I'm going to go ahead and click log out. It's a big bummer, and I've asked for them to update this because if you're toggling accounts quite frequently, it takes you forever to get back to the sign-in screen, and it's just something that they're working on. I mean, they're working on making the entire product faster, so we're hopeful that we'll get there. So you log in as the actual person. And we let that load. So as you can see to my point, things are slow to load. Okay, so from here in the upper right, because I did not add a headshot, it is the little, incognito guy there. You want to click on website, and then you want to go to edit on the set or edit. Click the pencil. You want to set your current website URL. This is where the naming parameter, and if somebody's on the call, it's been a while since I've done this. Did we do the HTTP?
It's first name dash last name dot CB Great Lakes or whatever, but I've always done the drop down with the create new. Does that matter?
It doesn't.
Okay.
We can show that step. So again, upper right corner, website, create a new website.
Yeah, that's how I do it too.
Okay, that's probably the better option. I'd led you astray. So again, that's from the upper right corner. You click website, and you can see it hasn't been set up, and that's why you get the little like alert, and then the create new, and that's what launches you into here. The team website option is a story for another day, because that could be a whole training in and of itself. So we will address that sometime in the near future. So it does default to agent website, and this is where you want to keep your naming parameter the same. So it's going to be first name dash last name, and I'm just making this up because it's a test account, and then it fills in the dot, and then whatever the URL that comes across from that organization that you first picked when you first added them will show up here. So the reason why it's important to keep the naming parameter the same is if we ever want to transition, as if you remember when we transitioned from Lone Wolf over to Moxie, our previous naming parameter was different. And so we had to map all of the previous naming parameters over to the new way. So if it's not a standard naming, it's really hard to remap it if we ever do transition. Now, if you have a team and they're adamant they want the team.cbgreatlakes.com, as long as it is still the team name, then we can allow that, but maybe just reach out and ask as you come up across those, and then click check. It says it's available. Wahoo! Hit submit. If this step isn't done for the agent, you can see why it's going to be a little bit confusing for them, and it allows them to go ahead and give themselves whatever URL that they want. It tells me it was successful. We can go to site. I need to send a quick text to my 2 o'clock to let them know I'm going to be late while that loads. Go ahead and accept those terms. Check the box, continue. And then it brings you to the home page for the agent. So what you want to do here is click apply an SSL cert. So you just click go there. Request SSL cert. This is a dummy account that I'm going to be deleting, so I'm not going to actually click it, but all you have to do is click that right there. So that's step one, what you want to do for them, and you can see that was super simple, right? Because it's just on that list. Now we do train agents to go through this list to customize their own sites, but it is really nice for them to have it done for them when they are brand new. You guys know how it is. There's so much that's thrown at them. They won't necessarily get to that, so it's really nice to be able to do that for them. Also, what you'd want to do is go to Appearance, Homepage Layout. You want to choose the option up top so that we can put their DBA logo on their website for them. So you click that and click Publish. And then it says right there it has been updated. Then you want to go to Header. And this is where you want to choose, and again, they can always change this at a later date. So you are kind of choosing for them, but again, as you work with the new agents, they can update this if they want. So you choose the one that you want to choose for them. And then this is where you can pick your DBA. Now the reason why there's two is because you have an option of changing your background color and your text color. So whatever option you want to make, sure that it will show up on the background color that you chose. And keep in mind, we're up to 12 different DBAs now. Congratulations to the Schmidt family of companies, 12 DBAs. So you want to make sure that you're really paying attention, because we have a lot of Schmidt, right? We have Schmidt family of companies in Ohio. We have Schmidt Realty in Ohio. We have Schmidt Realtors in Michigan. So you'll just want to make sure that you choose the right one. Now, if it is an agent that does have their global luxury certification, or they play in that world and they're working on getting their certification, that is an option. However, if a brand new agent fresh out of real estate school asks for that, maybe have a discussion with their manager just to see if it's a good fit. And then all the way at the bottom, once you get through all the logos, this is where you would just click publish. That's going to allow them to have their DBA on their website instead of just the CV Star and Coldwell Banker. Is there any other step in there, Jessica or Judy, that you guys do for the agents?
I always turn off the search engine blocked.
Okay.
I do that as well, especially if I've uploaded their headshot already.
Yeah. And then the other thing I don't know if everybody wants to, but I actually go and request access to their as their user, so that I can do it as admin.
Okay.
I do that as well.
Okay, I'll show that here next. So from here, to Jessica's point, the first thing we did was apply an SSL cert, and then this is the make your site visible to search engines, and again, it's just that easy click link there. And then this is where you uncheck this box and click save changes, and that is so that the search engines aren't blocked out from finding the site. And then
And Carrie, if you don't have any wrap up, Jessica or I can show them how to request access if you've got to go. It's up to you.
Let's see what my 2 o'clock told me. Okay, nope, it's no worries, but thank you. So from here, we're back now in the account. I left that, once that WordPress site that allows you to update and edit the websites pops up, it does pop into a different tab. So this tab does stay open here, so you can switch back to there. So from here, you would go into account settings, account access, control access to your account, manage, and then invite. And then this is where you would put yourself as the ASC, RSC. Click the search button, find that person, click add, click invite. And then myself as the admin to this dummy account was just invited. So I'll have an email. It hasn't come through yet, but it should any second. There it is. So I can then go in my email, click the link, and then I'll be able to have delegated access back to that person. So what that does, let me get back out to my other account real quick. If you guys aren't sure what that is and you haven't seen that yet. I have too many accounts.
And then the other thing I do when I email them their credentials is I let them know, so they're not shocked that I have access to their account. If they need help, reach out. If they are comfortable and don't want me there anymore, that they can remove it.
Good point, because they do have that option. They can remove it once they're logged in. So right here, if you guys have delegated access to others, right here it's going to allow you to switch users, and it's going to give you the list of all those agents that you have delegated access to. So you can essentially operate as them. So for example, we'll just pick on Lisa. When I click on hers, it takes just a hot second. And it's gonna show me in the upper right corner. It's gonna be my headshot, little teeny tiny headshot on top of hers. So it tells me that I'm signed in as myself, but I'm accessing her account. And then from here, I can go into her website, let it update. And then that would allow me to be able to access her website to update it for her, but it also does let me into her Engage, so I do have access to her contacts and such. So to Judy's point, it is nice to let the agents know that it's being set up this way. But if they ever choose to, let me switch back to myself. If they ever choose to break that connection, they can do that as when they're logged in as themselves. And that is done from my account. And then account settings, account access, that orange number 1 is there because I'm now logged in as myself and I had that request. So instead of clicking through on the email, if you're in Moxie, you can always come here as well. So if you click manage, it'll let you accept it. Let's see right here, accept. And then, so it'll show you if you've requested other people that haven't accepted it yet, and it'll always show your list here. So if you go into my account access, and I don't know if anybody has, I have none, but this is where you would be able to break that tie as the agent, is right there from that setting.
The other thing I can think of too that sort of relates to this is I always go into listings to leads when I input them, and then I connect their Moxie directly when adding them in with kind of like the workflow of adding a new agent.
We need to figure that out as a company, because in most pockets the local ASC is onboarding and listings to leads and not necessarily the RSC. So we can definitely figure that out by region, and then we can do a training on that. Because that is, again, it's just good customer service, right, to set that link for them. So thank you for bringing that one up. That was a lot of information. What questions do you guys have?
I think there's a job aid for that too.
There is, yes. Yeah, we'll take a look at all the job aids and we'll get them back out to you guys. Amy and Petoskey, I know that's probably going to be particularly helpful as you're learning all these steps. But I think it'd be just a good refresh because you guys are on board every single day. So